Radio stream is live now, and now you can also make me your co-host.
All right, you got it. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Wade.
Hey, good afternoon. Hi, is it you, Gordon?
Yes, nice
All
to see
right.
you again.
Hey, good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
This is Selena Wade. I'm the 15153.
Yeah, let me change you again here. I'll get the right person this time. Okay, SEL.
The Zoom user is Vera.
SALENA.
I'm sorry.
SALENA. Okay, let me get Selena. Yes.
Thank you.
And Zoom user, what's your name?
Vera, VERA.
Okay. Zoom user. There you go, Vera.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
How's that, Alicia?
Yes,
Hi, welcome.
thank you.
See, Susan's here. Hi, Susan. Let's see who else is here. Betty. Hi, Betty. And when I call your name, if you would just unmute and answer. I'm checking microphones to make sure I can hear you. So when you do have questions. So Alice, can you hear me? Oh,
Yes, I can. Thank
all
you.
right, great. Welcome, Alice. Good to have you. Hi, Marianne.
Thank you.
Hello,
Good. How are you today?
fine, thank you.
All right, good to have you as well. Mary, you there? And I see Eileen, you're back again. At the time of this second time for the same day. Welcome back. Thanks for joining. Oh,
I loved your class. Thanks.
oh, thank you. That's very nice. Okay, and Ruth, welcome. Let's see if I think I've got everybody. It's your no. Tina snuck in on me. Hi, Tina.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. Good to have you. Okay, let's see. I think they've heard from everybody so far. We're going to have a few more people joining us here today, probably. But while we're going to give them another minute or two to get in, I'm going to go ahead and start getting set up, though, while we're waiting for them. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so you should be able to see my slides there. And I'm going to go ahead and move your pictures over to my other monitor over here so I can see you. Things organized here. All right. Hey, Shirley.
Hi, Wade.
You come in. Good to have you. All right. And so I will go ahead and mute everyone because we are going to have a pretty good crowd today. So please just remember to unmute whenever you have a question or a comment. I'll probably be muting throughout the class if we have any background noise or echoes or anything. So always just remember to check your mute before you ask a question and make sure that you are unmuted. And then you can just ask your question. You don't need to raise your hand or anything. Just unmute and ask away. I'm also going to open up the chat. And 1 second here. Okay, so that is now open. And Todd from our Get Set Up TA group is here to help monitor the chat and manage the class. So Todd, thanks for joining us and helping out. Appreciate your help. But if your microphone is working, please do ask your questions out loud. That way everybody can hear your questions, and I will also hear it and get you a timely answer. But Todd will be providing some other information in the chat as well, though, so do continue to monitor the chat. All right. So can everybody hear me okay? Okay, all right. I think that had a
Yes.
little
Yes, I
background
can.
noise earlier, so good, we got that taken care of. All right, so we usually allow 4 to 5 minutes for everybody to get here from their other classes, and that is about that time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, we may have a few more people join us midstream here, but that is great. They can go ahead and catch up with us. This is Excel Basics. I do want to welcome you all to the class. Thanks for joining in. Hope you enjoy the class. My name is Wade Yarbrough, and I'll be the guide for this class. A little about my background. I'm from West Tennessee, born and raised in Mason, Tennessee, which is just outside of Memphis, Tennessee, about 30 miles out of Memphis. Went to Mississippi State for my psychology degree, and then went to University of West Virginia for my my doctorate degree. And I've taught psychology off and on throughout my career, but most of my working life was spent designing, installing, and training users on how to use hospital information systems. I had a minor in computer science, so I've always had a passion for technology as well as psychology. And what I love about teaching here at Get Set Up is that I'm teaching people that are in the class because you are interested in the class, as opposed to being here because your employer made you take the class. It makes it much more fun for me. And what we try to do at Get Set Up is to create an environment where you can do just that. You can take classes that you're interested in and be among other people that are interested in the same topic that you can interact with, hear their questions, ask your own questions of the guide. We try to make it a very comfortable, interactive environment. So I do hope you'll ask questions and make comments today. I always say that sometimes there'll be a question that'll come up from someone that I may not know the answer to, but someone else in the class does. So if you're that person, please give that answer. That way I get to keep learning along with everyone else. It's the other part I like about teaching. I continue to learn. The session is being recorded, and anyone can request a copy of that recording after class. Just send an email to help@getsetup.io. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well. In case you don't have that email address, you can copy that out of the chat and put it in your email contacts. We're also live streaming the class today, so I do want to welcome anyone joining us via live stream. Thanks for joining. Hope you enjoy the class as well. But the only way to get that full experience of being able to interact with other users and ask questions is to go to our website and register for the classes. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products that we train. We are purely trainers. So let's talk about the agenda for today. This is the introductory class for Excel. So we're going to start with the basics. Assumption is that you have minimal to no experience with Excel. So we're going to start from the beginning with this class. So we'll talk about what Excel is, how you can get access to Excel, and then we'll get into how to create and save Excel workbooks, how to use simple formulas and functions, and how to enter, format, and copy information in a spreadsheet. So let's start with what is Excel. Excel is a powerful spreadsheet program, and it allows you to enter and manage data in the form of numbers, text, and formulas that are all entered into the spreadsheet. Microsoft is and has been for quite some time the undisputed market leader in spreadsheet programs. It's not the original spreadsheet. I don't know if anybody remembers something called VisiCalc, which was the first spreadsheet many, many moons ago. Lotus 1-2-3 was the second king of the hill, but Excel's been king of the hill for quite a while now. But Google Sheets is certainly gaining in popularity. It's a strong competitor, slightly different tilt. Google Sheets tends to cater to the personal market, whereas Microsoft tends to cater more toward the corporate market, but there's a ton of overlap between the two. So how do you get access to Excel? There are a couple of different ways to get access, and in the email that comes out after class, I'll have some links to these sites where if you don't have Excel already, you can get some more information and or sign up. Most people access it though through Microsoft 365, which is a subscription service from Microsoft. It is $69.99 a year, but for that you get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneDrive, OneNote, plus a terabyte of storage. That's 1,000 gigabytes. So that's not at all a bad deal. We do have a related class, Microsoft 365 overview as well. I'll mention that again at the end of class. But if you're new to Microsoft and want to learn more about Microsoft 365, it'll talk about all the things you get with the Microsoft 365 subscription. Now, Microsoft does also offer a free Office Online package. That is a web version of Microsoft 365, but it is not the full functioning application that you get as part of Microsoft 365. It is a somewhat stripped down version that runs as on a browser, and it only has 5 gigabytes of storage space instead of 1 terabyte. But it is a way to get started and try it out. And there'll be information about that in the email after class as well. But any questions about that basic background information before we launch into Excel? And as always, if you have questions or comments, just unmute and go ahead and ask away. So we're going to talk about first how to access Excel and then go in and start creating workbooks. So I'm going to minimize this for now and open Excel. Excel comes with Windows, and it's 2 ways to get to it. Most people put it down here in their taskbar, so it's very quick and easy to get to, so you can launch it from here. The other way is to get to it from the Start menu. So you can come up here and click here and get to Excel, or you can even go down and get to it from here. Several ways to get to it. It opens the same program no matter how you get there. I'm just going to use the taskbar. That's the way I usually get to it. And open it up here. So there's
Excuse me, Wade.
Yes.
Could you move the photographs of all of the participants to the side so that we could see your screen, please?
You can do that on your side. If you go up to the upper right where it says
Yeah.
View Options, there should be a side-by-side gallery, or it may just say gallery. And that should put them side by side. You see that?
No, unfortunately, I don't.
Let me try one thing. Sometimes if I stop and restart, it pops it into that side-by-side gallery view. Let me just do that real quickly. Let's see if that does anything different. If not, maybe get with Todd in the chat and see if Todd can help you. But that is on the Zoom side on your device.
Okay. Okay. Sorry to bother you.
Oh, did that work?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. Todd, can you see if you can help him get that setting? Are you on a Mac or a Windows?
A Mac.
Okay. Yeah. It may be a little different on the Mac. What I can do in the meantime, I can kind of push this over to the left a little bit, which and most of the action is going to be on the left side anyway. So hopefully that will work in the meantime.
Great. Thank you.
So there's two sections when you go here, and it opens in the home screen. And at the top of the screen is where you can start a new spreadsheet. Two ways to start. You can start with a blank workbook, or you can start with a template. And the bottom of the screen has templates that you've already created or that have been shared with you. We'll talk about all of that. Let's start at the top. So if you're new to Excel, you won't have anything at the bottom yet. So the first option I mentioned was a blank workbook. I'll just click into there to show you. What you get is literally a blank workbook. There's nothing in there. You're starting from scratch. I'm going to just close that and reopen. It'll take me back to the home page again. These are the templates. And if you click this more templates, it'll give you many more options. And there are lots of different things. There's things like nutrition trackers, recipe counters, lots of work-related items, calendars, monthly budgets, sales invoices. You can scroll through this, but there's templates for all sorts of things. In fact, at the top, they're even categorized business-related, personal-related, planners and trackers, lists, budgets, charts, calendars. I'm going to go and go back home. And I'm just going to open this simple personal budget as a for instance. So if I click on that template, it shows me what it looks like and tells me a little bit about it just so I can verify that that's what I think I want. If I hit create, it's going to take that template, copy it into a workbook and open it on my computer. Down at the bottom, you can have multiple sheets, these are called, and it starts in this start sheet, which again tells you a little bit about the template. If you click this next sheet here in this tab at the bottom, it takes you to the actual template. And you can see it has formatted a budget spreadsheet for you. It's got column headers for the different months, and you can scroll across there and it goes all the way to December, and then it summarizes the numbers for the year. It's even got a little graph built into there that's kind of slick. And you can use this just like it is without changing anything. Just start keying in your information, what your groceries were, what your childcare is, and it summarizes the information. You can also go in and edit this and change it. So if you don't have childcare expenses, you can get rid of that line. We'll show you how to edit a spreadsheet in a few minutes. But these are often a good way to get started, give you some ideas. Sometimes I'll come and look at a template and then I'll still go and build it from scratch, but I get ideas from it. I like that idea of putting the little graph on the side. I haven't seen that before, so I'm going to steal that idea. Questions about templates? Let's see how that works. Right. I'm going to click File and just come back to the home here. And it takes me back to where we were. And down at the bottom section, these are workbooks that I can work on. These are ones that come from several different sources. Typically, they're things that you've created yourself. And it has them in here in terms of which one you opened most recently. So recent is the default mode of your spreadsheet. So it shows you everything in reverse chronological order. What it also lets you do is to pin spreadsheets. And I'll click over into the pin. So pinned are ones that you don't use every day, every week, maybe only once or twice a year, but you want to be able to get to it quickly when you need it. And to pin something, all you do is just come down here, and here's a class the workbook we're going to use today in class. If I want to pin it, I just come over to this little push pin icon. And when I hover over it, it says pin this item to the list. If I click it, now if I come over to pinned, it's in the list. Here it is right here, get set up Excel 513. If I change my mind and I want to take it out of my pinned list, I just reverse the process. I click, it's like unpulling the pin. It's now gone from my pinned list. It's still over here in my recent lists. The third tab is shared with me. That's the other way you can get access to a spreadsheet. You can share spreadsheets with other people. Other people can share their workbooks with you. Here you can see who owns that workbook that they've shared with me. I can open and do whatever that person has allowed me to do. And I'll show you how to share workbooks a little bit later in the class as well. Questions? Okay, let's go ahead and open a workbook and get started then. I created a workbook that we'll use for class. So I'm just going to open that. And just to clean things up, I'm going to get rid of this one. This is the template that we had opened earlier. We're not going to use that again. So I'm just going to get rid of it. And I don't want to save it. And we'll move this back up where we can see it. Okay. So this is a workbook. A workbook has or can have multiple spreadsheets in the workbook. Each one of the sheets is in a different tab down here at the bottom, and you can go from tab to tab. We're going to be going through that today. The way the spreadsheets work is that you enter information into cells, and a cell is the intersection of a row and a column. It is defined by that row and column. So this cell is C9, column C, row 9. Up here in the upper left, it tells you what cell you're in. So if you click way over here, you don't have to do what I did and try and figure out what row and column it is. It'll tell me I'm in I-16. But cells are the only place you can enter information. So that's where we're going to be working today. There's 4 types of information you can enter into a cell: numbers, text, dates, and formulas. So we're going to go over each one of those in more detail. We're going to start with numbers. Spreadsheets are primarily numerical. They're used for calculating, so they're used predominantly. One thing you have to get used to with spreadsheets is that what you see isn't necessarily what is being stored. In this cell, it says 5.28. When I click on that cell up here in what's called the formula bar, it shows me the actual contents of that cell. That cell actually has 5.278456 stored in it. I can format how I want to display the contents of the cell. So you have some control over that. So for example, I can control the number of decimal places just by clicking here. I can add decimal places. I can reduce decimal places, take it back to whole number. So I'm changing the format. I'm not changing the contents. I can also change the contents by clicking up here and making changes. I can also, I'm going to put this back like it was. Oops. I can also double click on this cell. And when I double click on it, it shows me the actual contents, and I can edit it from here. So you can edit from here. You can edit from up here. Doesn't matter, whichever way you like to do. I tend to edit from up here just because that's the way I've always done it, but there's no right or wrong way. Text is a little easier. Text is pretty much what you see is what you get. Dates are a special case of a number. So here is a date, and it says Thursday, January 2nd, 2020. Again, what is actually stored is that date, 1/2/2020. I can double click here and it will show me the actual contents, and I can again change it here. I don't want to make that be 2021. I can change it. It'll come back and show it to me in the format that I've selected. We'll go into formatting later, but the formats are up here. Formats are up here. So like now it says it's a date format. There's a short date format and a long date format here. But if I want to get into even more date formats, I can click on the more formats, and here's a whole bunch of different date formats that you can use. We're just going to leave it with that one for now. Okay. And again, if I go too fast or anybody has any questions, please stop me and let me know and ask your question. Formulas are the heart and soul of spreadsheets. That really is what makes spreadsheets powerful. And again, you look here and you see 525. That is the what's being displayed. If I look up in my formula bar, and this is why it's called a formula bar, I can see the formula that's stored there. And as you can see here, you can make fairly complex, long formulas if you want to. Just have to follow the normal rules of mathematics and algebra. But here it's showing me the result of that equation. And as every other one, I can double click and I can see the formula down here, edit the formula down here. Works the same way. Questions about contents? We're going to go into a lot more detail about formulas, but just basic questions about the contents you can store. And there. Okay. If not, let's dig into formulas. All of these are pretty straightforward. This one is where it gets complex, especially if you're new to spreadsheets. So let's go over here and work a little bit more with some simple formulas. I'm going to start with a very simple one. Let's say I just want to have a formula that adds 42 and 148. I like to use an analogy of a calculator. If I was going to add 42 and 148 with a calculator, I would type in 42, hit plus, hit 148, hit equal, and it would show me on my calculator display what the answer was. This works the same way. It's a different sequence. I put equal first. All formulas start with an equal sign, but then I type 42 plus 148, hit enter, and it gives me the answer. 42 plus 148 is my formula. The answer is 190. You don't do that very often in spreadsheets, that you just have numbers in a formula. That doesn't really do a whole lot for you. Spreadsheets, the power of spreadsheets is using cell references. So let's say I want to divide the contents of this cell, B3, by 10. I can create a formula to do that. I'm going to put an equal sign. And now I could type B3. If you've been in my other classes, you know I'm lazy. Instead of typing, I like to point. Saves click. So I can point here and click, and it'll put B3 into that formula for me at that point. Now I can just hit the slash for divide and type in 10, hit enter, and 190 divided by 10 is indeed 19. There's my formula. B3, the cell B3 divided by 10. So you can mix cell references and numbers in a formula. You can also have nothing but cell references. So we're going to do one more. I want to subtract the contents of B5 from the contents of B3, equal. And I'm going to click 190. Hang on a second. And put minus and 19. So it has equals B3 minus B5. And that is 171. And here's my formula, equals B3, the contents of this cell, minus the contents of this cell. And that is indeed 190 minus 19 is indeed 171. Now the power of that is that if I change this cell where these other two are referencing, make that 378, these change automatically because each one of them is referencing that cell. I could have 100 cells in this spreadsheet all referencing that one cell. When I change that one cell, those other 100 cells update and change to reflect that that number has changed. Questions about basic formulas? Sorry about that.
Wade,
Yes, go ahead, Beth.
it's Beth. Doesn't Excel itself show you several formulas up in here in the?
I think you're thinking about functions, and we're going to go there next.
Okay, all right.
It doesn't show you formulas, but yeah, we're going to go to functions next. We got a couple other things to do on this sheet, and we'll talk about those over here. I think that's what you're talking about, and they
Yeah,
are up.
Probably is.
Yeah. I did mention that numbers are, dates are numbers. So you can do math with dates, which is handy. If I want to know how many days is it from December 4th, 2020 to December 24th, 2020, I can say equals and do just like I did before. Click the first cell minus the second cell. And it's 20 days. Yeah, you could probably look at it and tell that, but if this was 2024, you probably couldn't do that in your mind, but that is indeed 1,481 days between those two dates. So that's handy to remember that you can do math with dates. And I'm going to show you just a tip and a trick down here. When we looked at that template, it had columns for months. And a lot of tables in your spreadsheets do have dates across the columns, either the days of the week, months of the year. And to enter those, I could type Monday, then I could come over here and type Tuesday, then I could come type Wednesday. But as I've already told you, I'm lazy. And if I want to do this easily, I put in the first cell, and then I put the cursor down here in the bottom right until it changes to a small plus sign. I can now drag this over and it will take that series and replicate it across, which is much quicker and easier than typing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can do it no matter what the format is. It's still a date, so it works the same here. We'll talk about formatting later, but you'll notice here, it put all hashtags in here. And that's because the contents won't fit. And I'll preview what we're going to talk about more later, but I can widen this cell out and make it fit. We'll talk more about how you can adjust columns and rows a little later, but that's why there's nothing wrong with the format there. It's just, it won't show. And I can do it with months as well as days. And it also works going as row headers as well as column headers. I can go down and it works as well that way. So it's just a little time saver when you're formatting a new spreadsheet. Okay, so let's go and talk about functions. So functions are a special type of formula. It's a templated formula, if you want to think about it that way. And so I've got a table here. This is my club, and my column headers are the contents of the rows, which is the full name, the tier they're in, what their monthly fee is, and what % of the total they're contributing. And I want to get some additional information about my club. So one of the things I want to know is how many members I've got. And yeah, I know you can look at that and tell there's 4. But if I had over 200 members, you couldn't just look and see how many members there are. So I need to do that. Now I could say B4 plus B5 plus B6. I could write a formula and get that. That would be pretty ugly. Functions work much better. So I'm going to come up here, and this is the icon for functions. And you click the little down arrow beside it. And it has the most commonly used ones here at the top. And what I want to do is count, and there it is. So I'm just going to click count numbers. It guesses what I'm trying to count, and it guessed really well. That is what I want to count, the contents of those cells. So I'm just going to hit enter. Well, let me show you what it says first. The way a function works is it has an equal sign because it is a type of formula. The name of the function, and then these are called arguments. And the arguments are usually the starting cell and the ending cell. So this is saying count everything from B4 down to B8, which is what I wanted to do. So I hit enter, and it correctly tells me there are 4 members in my club. I'm going to enter a couple more of these, ask questions if you have them, but to kind of show you how they work. I also want to know how much money I took in. So I can do another one. You just click where you want the results of the function to be displayed. So I want it here. I could put it up here. I could put it anywhere, but I'm going to put it there. And I'm going to come up here and grab the sum function. And it guessed pretty close, but not quite right. I can just manually show what I want. So I'm going to just hold in the left mouse button and select the cells I want it to sum across. So I want it to sum C4 through C8, C4 through C8. That's correct. Hit enter. It gives me 606. If I want to check my formula, it's up here, or I could double click down here and check the formula down here and or edit the formula down here, just like other formulas. It's just a function instead of a formula. Works the same way. Do one more, then I'll take questions. I also want to know what's the average cost. What is the average what my members are paying? And just to show I can put it anywhere instead of putting it underneath, I'm going to put it over here. Come up here and grab the average function. Show it. It guessed really bad on that time. It doesn't really matter. I'll just show it what I want. And the average amount is $152. Questions about how that's working? Now, the power of this is that as I do my business and my business grows and I keep adding new members, I can do a right click and insert another row. And so now I can add a couple more members. Bob Jones. Should have had a space there, but doesn't matter. And this one's in tier 2. This one's in tier 4. It now knows I've got 6 members instead of just 5 as I start adding these numbers in. These numbers both change. If Mary leaves the club, I can just right click here and clear the contents, take that out. It's dropped me back to 5. It's adjusted my monthly fees and my average that each one is paying. So if you set up your tables with formulas and functions, and then you kind of run your business or do whatever it is you're doing, and the spreadsheet recalcs as you're entering information. Questions? Okay, I'm going to show you one of my favorite things, and that is the undo. So I'm going to put Mary back in there just so I've got a full table. This is undo. In fact, I should have pointed this out as well. This is called the ribbon at the top. And the ribbon is contains different pages. So you can click across the top. It goes through these different pages. Each page has several groups. So in the home, I've got the font group, I've got the alignment group, I got the number group. We're going to go into these in a good bit more detail in a minute. And then these are called commands. So that's basically how Microsoft does these. All of the Microsoft products use the same basic format, pages, groups, and commands. So we'll be up here a good bit more. This is the only one we've been into so far. Now there is a formulas sheet or page up here. And if you want to get into more formulas, and in the Excel intermediate class, we'll get into some logic formulas and some text formulas or functions. So lots of different functions here you can do. This is just kind of a shortcut to get into them from over here. And these are the ones most people use most of the time. But we will get into some of the others in the next class. I'll show you one other thing in this, and then we'll move into formatting, which is our last topic. But percentages we're going back to formulas. It's not a function, but it works a little different than the ones I've shown you so far. But you do a lot of percentages, so I want to show you how this works. So I want to figure out what percent of my total revenue did John Doe contribute, and that's a pretty simple formula. It's equal to John Doe's amount divided by the total, and 20% looks about right. Okay. So I need to now copy this formula down, and there's 2 ways I can do that. I'll use this way first, so I can just grab this bottom right corner again, like we did on the other page when I was formatting headers, and drag it down, and it will copy that formula down to those other cells. But I got a problem now. It says I'm dividing by 0. So let's check our formula, see what happened. C4 divided by C11, C4 divided by C11, that looks right. C5 divided by C12. C5, that's right. C12, that's not right. I want to keep using C11. What happens when you copy a formula? As it copies it down, it increments everything by 1, which is typically what you're wanting to do. But in this scenario, it's not. I want to anchor part of that formula and not have it change and have the other part of the formula change. I want the numerator to change. I want the denominator to stay the same. Luckily, there's a way to do that. It's a little bit of a memory thing. You have to put a dollar sign in front of the row in the column. And that says, lock that cell. It's called an absolute reference. Let this one vary. So and I'll do a different way to copy it. This time I'm going to just left click and select those cells and do a Control D, control down, and it'll copy them down. So that now works. For each one of these, the denominator stays C11, the numerator changes. And if I want to check it and make sure that's really right, I know the sum of these percentages should be 100%. So I can just throw a quick formula in there and sum that up and see if that is indeed 100%, and it is. So my formula must be right. Okay, questions about formulas and functions? All right, let's go into formatting. It's the last topic. This is a pretty nice looking table. When I'm doing a new table, I usually get all of the math working first, and then I worry about prettying it up. So here's what that table looked like when I first got finished building it. It works, but it's pretty ugly. So let's pretty this one up a little bit. And this is pretty quick because it's similar to what you've done before with word processing or even putting in the body of an email. So if I want to do something like bold this, I just click on it and hit bold. What's nice about spreadsheets, I don't have to click each cell and do it one at a time. You can work on an entire row or an entire column. So I can just select that entire column, hit the bold, and it's now bold all those column headers. I can do the same thing in terms of columns, or I can work with just certain range of cells. So in this case, let me just say I want to take these cells and I want to center all those. So I can select a range, click whatever I want to do. In this case, I want to center them, and it's now centered that column. I didn't want to center this one. That's why I didn't do the entire column. We talked a little bit about formatting. This is currency. I want it to look like currency. I can come up over here into my number formatting and just put the currency there. And that's correct. But I never charge anything other than whole amounts. So what I could do is to say, let's just round that to the nearest whole number, since I don't do anything other than whole numbers. So these are percentages. I can click the whole column, click on the percent, and they're now percents. Again, if I want to make it be, take it out to one decimal place, I can do that as well. Again, if I go too fast, stop me. So we're making progress here. It's looking better. I got a problem here. This is chopping off part of the names, and I kind of showed you earlier sort of how that works. I can come up here and go to the border between the two columns, and my cursor changes to an arrow pointing both directions. Hold the left mouse button and I can drag it out and change the column manually. The other thing I can do, which is actually easier and in most cases better, I can get that double arrow again and just double click, and it will automatically adjust the column width to be appropriate for the widest cell in the column. That's especially good if I've got 250 members. So there may be somebody way down here that has a really long name. If I just do it visually, it's still going to be chopping that name off. If I do the double click, it automatically adjusts for the widest cell in the column.
Wait,
Uh-huh.
where are you double clicking?
I'm right when it turns into the arrows going both directions. So if I start in A and start working over toward B, it changes.
Okay,
And so that's where I either double click or hold the left mouse button and drag.
yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Now I got something going on here. It's chopping off part of that column header. Now I could do what I just did. I could widen this out and that works, but now I got all this ugly white space. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to use my undo up here again, my favorite command. And what I can do is to put those words over and under, and that is called wrapping. And here is wrap text right there. Biggest thing about Excel is figuring out what all these icons are. So if I wrap it, it takes the fee, puts it underneath the monthly, makes the row deeper, taller to accommodate that. Now I'd probably want to center it, clean it up a little bit more now, and that looks much better. In fact, I can get rid of a little bit more white space now just by double clicking here, and it narrows it down as narrow as I can get it. Now I got the same problem here. It doesn't show up because there's nothing in the adjacent cell, but if I put something in that adjacent cell, you can tell it's going to chop off this one. It took me 3 commands to get this one the way I wanted it. I could do those same 3 commands over here. I've told you I'm lazy. What I can do instead is to come up here to the format painter, click that and say, take this format and paint it here. And it automatically does the same format over there. And I can paint it to multiple cells. If I wanted to paint it to all those cells, I could do that. So that's a handy command as well. You can take any cell, copy the formatting and paste it somewhere else. Okay, getting pretty close now. The title, I prefer it to be centered, and I probably want to play with it a little bit too. I probably want to bold it and maybe make it a little bit bigger. And maybe even change the font if you want to get really fancy and maybe make it be something like, I don't like that one. Let's get really bold. Okay, let's go with that one. But it's still not centered. And I could copy it to any one of these cells and it's not going to be exactly centered. But what I can do is I can select all the columns in the table and come up here to this icon and select merge and center. So merge those 4 columns, cells into one cell, and then center the contents. So now you can see this is a single cell. Below it are 4 cells, but this is just a single cell. And by centering it now, if I change any of the column widths, it's going to automatically recenter so that my title is always at the center of the table. 2 other things I want to do, and we did this in the last one. I probably want to have lines around, borders around the cells, and that's right here. So I can say put borders around all sides of the cells, and it gives me that, which kind of sets my table off. And then I can come up here and put a little bit of a background color there. Let's go with the light green in this case. And I'm done. So probably ought to put a $sign on that one as too, just to, oops. And now
Hey, tell me again how you got your borders.
Yeah. You just, I'll do something over here. You just select where you want the borders to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this one right here.
Ah,
And there's lots of options. I could just put a black border around the outside of it, or you can put borders on the inside. So you got a lot of options to play with in here. But these are all different types of borders you can do. Okay.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When you removed Mary Wilson, it left a blank line.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and that, I didn't like that. Can you fix that in any way?
Well, there's a couple of ways to fix that. I could delete the row instead of clearing it out. So I could do a right click and delete, and then it just gets rid of that entire row. So that's one way to fix it. The other thing you could do is to sort it and sort all the blank rows to the bottom. I'll usually like to keep a blank row or two at the bottom of my tables so I can add another person without messing up my formulas. So, and we get into sorting in the intermediate class.
Okay,
We'll talk
Thank you.
about how to sort and filter large spreadsheets. I've got time for another question or two.
Wade, go up where your percentage sign is.
Uh-huh.
What is this? No, way up here, way up in the top header. Over, now there's a dollar sign, percentage sign. What's the next one? Looks like a big comma.
Way up here.
Yeah,
Oh, let me grab a number. Well,
oh, I see. If you got 1,000, okay,
so it's just your comma format. So
okay.
in fact, let's make that bigger so it'll. I'm just going to overwrite the formula. So it puts in the comma.
Okay. I see, okay.
And if you click on
Thank
the
you.
down arrow, there's a whole bunch more. So I can go into numbers, and there's other formats as well. These are the three you use the most: comma, currency, and percent.
When would be your next class, Wade?
What was that, Margaret?
When will be your next class on the,
The intermediate class.
yes,
Okay, when we go into the closing slides, I'm going to go to our website and remind me when we get there, and we'll look it up and see when it's going to be.
okay, because I'm being called because I dropped my dog off and they're calling me to go and pick him up.
Okay, yeah, I don't know off the top of my head when it's going to be, so.
Okay, but I'll be checking, but I really enjoy the class.
Okay,
That's why I keep coming over and over.
if you hang a minute, I don't know if, Todd, if you can find it and put it in the chat. It's the Excel Intermediate.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you need to leave, Margaret, you could go ahead and leave it. I do remember there's one thing I was going to show you that I didn't, and this is very quick, but I told you that people can share spreadsheets with you and you can share spreadsheets with them. Boy, that's hard to say. If I wanted to share this with someone, I could just come up here where it says share, click on it. And first I need to determine what do I want that person to be able to do. Can they edit my spreadsheet or just look at it and copy it, but not be able to edit it? And then I can even set an expiration date, which I would probably only do if I'm letting them edit it, but I'll say, go ahead and make your changes, but you've got a week to do it, and then you're not gonna have access anymore. And you can even put in a password if it's a very sensitive document, it's got credit card numbers in there or something, you can set a password. So they would need the link as well as a password to open your spreadsheet. So I determine what they're going to do. Typically, when I do this, I just let them copy it. They can make their own copy. So I'm going to apply those privileges. Then all you have to do is just put who you're going to send it to. And if you want to send it to more than one person, you can put the extra people there, add a message and hit send, and it will send them a link to your spreadsheet. Very simple to share it. Just be careful giving people edit privileges because they can mess up your spreadsheet. That's all handled by OneDrive, which is underneath, and we have a whole separate class on OneDrive, and we get in a little more detail about that in the OneDrive class. But that's how you can share a, a workbook with another person. All right, so we are out of time here. I do need to move into the closing. Let me go
Well,
back
thank
and
you
get
very
my.
I'll be looking forward to your next class.
Okay, thanks, Margaret. Bye now.
Thank you.
So that's
Thank
the end
you.
of the class itself. I've got a few things I'll go over in terms of what's going to happen after class, especially if you're new to get set up and don't know the process. But I do hope you enjoyed your experience with us, and that if you're sharing your experiences on social media, you can always tag us as well. I mentioned a couple of these already, that there's an Excel intermediate class, which picks up where this class left off. And I also mentioned that the Microsoft 365 overview class talks about all the different parts of Microsoft 365. If you want to take that to decide if it's worth the $70 a year or not. And there's also one for Mac users. It's a little different for Mac. So if you're a Mac user, it talks about some of the differences between the Windows version and the Mac version of Microsoft 365. After class, you'll get an email. And I've mentioned the email a couple of times, I think already, but in the email, there will be several sections. There'll be a class notes section, which will have some key points from the class. It'll have links to some resources. Some of them will go over the same things we covered in class. Some will add some additional information. I'll also have links in there to those related classes I mentioned. If you're interested in taking one of those classes, you can click right from the email. If you want to recommend the class to a friend, you can do that by posting a link on Facebook or sending a link via email. There'll be links to 3 other classes you may want to take. Just click on the link to register for that class. Click the Give Feedback link to open the feedback form. Only 2 questions. How do you want to rate the class, 1 to 5 stars? And how do you want to rate the guide, 1 to 5 stars? Comments are available for both of those, not required, but greatly appreciated. Hope you'll take time to both give us an evaluation and briefly tell us, why you gave us that score. We hope you're enjoying being part of the Get Set Up community. And if you are, there's some other things you can do. We're always looking for interest groups. We don't have an Excel interest group. So if you would like to host or be part of an interest group that gets together a couple of times a month to talk about Excel tips and tricks and things that you found or problems you're having and work them out with some other learners, just let us know. help@getsetup.io. If there's a class you'd like to see us offer, or if you belong to an organization that you think would be a good partner for us, or if you want to get a copy of the recording of this session, as we mentioned at the top of the class, same email address. The last link in the email is View Schedule, which takes you to our website where you can book another class. I'll show you how to find. So if you're looking for a particular class, the best way to find it is just to search for it up here in the search bar. So if you're looking for that Excel intermediate class, you can just start typing Excel and it will it'll show you the classes. So here's the Excel Basics class. And where's the Excel Intermediate class? Oh, there it is, Excel Intermediate Topics and Tips. So there's the intermediate class. So if you're interested in taking that class, you can click it, and it is going to be on May 20th, 4:30 Eastern Time. If you want to book that, you can just click book. And there's one new feature we've added there that I did want to show you. If you would like to invite a friend, so there's maybe somebody you think that would like to take that class and you'd like to take it together at the same time, you can invite them to that future class. You can do that by entering their email and clicking here to send an email link to them, or you can copy the link here and paste it in your own email and send it out that way, or post it in Facebook, however you want to send that link. And the last thing quickly is if there's a guide or several guides that you like their classes and you want to see what they're going to be teaching for the next couple of weeks, you can put their name here instead of the name of the class, and it will search and pull up their classes they're going to be teaching in chronological order. So this is starting with the next class they're going to teach and going through the rest of their classes. So again, if you see a class you want to take, you can book straight from here. And this will only show you classes that are available to book. So it goes out usually about 2 weeks. So if you come back and look again next week, there'll be a different list of classes. Any questions or anything I can help anyone with in terms of booking classes or navigating our website? Okay, all right. If not, I'm getting done 1 minute early to get you to your next class or get you to supper, whatever is coming up next. I do want to thank you for attending. I hope you enjoyed the class. And I hope I see you again in another class real soon. Thanks for coming and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
now.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Bye, Elsie.